It is 8 in the morning. You have just closed the front door and walked away. Your dog is standing there watching the handle turn. Most people think the story ends the moment you disappear down the street. But your neighbor knows things about your dog that you will never know. They know exactly what time the barking starts. They know how long it lasts. They know which days are worse. They have heard sounds through the wall that you will never hear because you are not there when it happens. When you finally walk back through that same door hours later, your dog looks perfectly normal, calm, maybe a little excited to see you, acting like the day was completely uneventful. But you have seen this quiet evidence. The sofa cushion now on the floor, the corner of the rug that is flipped over, the strange heavy silence of a dog who knows the atmosphere in the house has suddenly changed. You probably assumed it was just boredom, maybe a little mischief. Maybe they were having a bad day. But behavioral researchers have been doing something for decades that most owners never do. They leave a camera running and they walk out the door. And what those cameras have captured hour after hour is one of the most revealing and heartbreaking truths in all of animal psychology. Your dog is not simply missing you. Something very specific is happening inside their mind the moment that door closes. In 2010, researchers at the University of Milan did something very simple yet incredibly powerful. They installed cameras inside the homes of 23 dogs, and then they left. What those cameras recorded changed everything we thought we knew about what really happens when you walk out the door. The first thing they saw was shocking in its precision. Vocalization barking, whining howling began on average at exactly 3 minutes and 15 seconds after the owner disappeared. Destructive behavior, chewing, scratching, tearing things apart, followed just 7 minutes later. 7 minutes. That is how quickly your dog can go from standing at the door to attacking the nearest shoe or sofa cushion. But the cameras revealed something even more important than the destruction. After that first frantic burst of noise and movement, everything seemed to quiet down. If you came home to a silent house, you would think your dog had settled and gone back to sleep. The truth the camera showed was far darker. As the barking slowly faded, panting increased dramatically. Heart rate remained dangerously elevated. The dog had simply shifted from one form of distress to another. The noise stopped, but the body stayed in full panic mode. Researchers who tracked these dogs over longer periods discovered an even more painful pattern. The distress does not slowly fade away like everyone assumes. Every 23 to 28 minutes, there is a fresh spike. A sudden burst of movement or vocalization, followed by another quiet period, then another spike. It is not settling, it is cycling. The silence between those spikes is not calm. It is exhaustion. Now compare that to dogs without separation issues. Swedish researchers at the University of Agricultural Sciences left a different group of dogs alone for up to 4 hours. These dogs spent 97% of their time in completely passive calm behavior, lying down, resting occasionally, walking to the water bowl. No distress, no cycling, no panic. The difference between these two groups is not breed. It is not age. And it is barely even genetics. The research points to one single factor above almost everything else: what your dog has been taught to expect when that door closes. But the most surprising truth is this: the panic does not begin the moment you close the door. For many dogs, it begins long before you even reach for your keys. In the 1980s, two pioneering veterinary behaviorists, Borchelt and Voith, documented something that has been confirmed in study after study ever since. Dogs with separation anxiety often start showing clear, measurable signs of stress, while their owner is still inside the house, still moving around, still talking to them. The stress does not wait for the door to click shut. It starts the second the departure routine begins. Through hundreds of repeated mornings, your dog has learned to read every tiny signal backwards. You check your phone, you put on your shoes, you glance at the clock. Each of those ordinary actions has become a chain, a countdown, that screams one single terrifying message: I am about to leave you alone. By the time you actually walk toward the door, some dogs are already panting. Some are pacing in tight circles. Some follow you from room to room with wide, worried eyes, silently begging this time, please stay. They are not being dramatic. Their nervous system is already in full alert mode because their brain has run this movie so many times, it knows exactly how it ends. For years, the most common advice was to desensitize those cues. Pick up your keys 10 times a day, and then sit back down. Put on your shoes and stay home. Make the signals meaningless. But when researchers at the Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona reviewed all the evidence in 2014, they found the truth is far more complicated. For some dogs, making departures unpredictable actually helped. For others, it made the fear worse. Because the real problem is not the keys or the shoes or the bag. The real problem is the deep aching uncertainty about whether you will ever come back. Your dog is not afraid of your morning routine. Your dog is afraid that this time the door will close and you will disappear forever. That fear is what turns every goodbye into a silent scream they cannot explain and you cannot hear. The Royal Veterinary College in the United Kingdom ran one of the largest and most careful studies ever done on this exact question. They called it Generation Pup, and they followed 145 dogs from the very first day they were adopted all the way through their first 6 months of life. The researchers were looking for one thing: what actually predicts whether a dog will develop serious separation problems later on. And the answer they found surprised almost everyone, including many professional trainers. The long emotional goodbyes, the big dramatic hugs at the door, the whole 5-minute production that some of us perform every single morning had no significant effect at all. None. Those heartfelt farewells that make us feel better do not make our dogs more anxious. What mattered far more than how you leave was how you come home. Dogs whose owners returned to find damage or mess and then reacted with visible frustration. Raised voices, scolding prolonged upset, or even punishment were 6 times more likely to develop separation-related behaviors. 6 times. Here's the heartbreaking part. Your dog cannot connect your anger to the chair leg they chewed 4 hours earlier. Their brain simply does not work that way. What they connect your frustration to is the moment you walk through the door. Your arrival itself slowly becomes something to fear. And when a dog starts to fear your return, they become even more terrified of your departure. The two ends of the day get linked together into one long, painful loop. You walk out, they panic. You walk back in, they panic again for a different reason. The entire day turns into 24 hours of anticipatory stress. The same study also found that any kind of punishment, yelling, smacking, or even deliberately ignoring the dog dramatically increased the chance of problems. And the most common advice owners receive when their dog struggles alone, get another dog, has almost zero support in the actual research. In one study of 77 dogs, male dogs living with another dog actually vocalized and whined more when left alone than single dogs. Because this is not about general loneliness. This is about the specific, terrifying absence of one specific person you. A second dog does not fix that. It simply means 2 dogs now carrying the same wound. This is the part that gets missed most often. And it tends to get missed because the dog makes it so easy to miss. You come home after a long day. The house is perfectly intact. No mess, no damage. Your dog looks up from the sofa with an expression that says nothing in particular happened. You breathe a sigh of relief and assume everything was fine. In the 1960s, Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania ran a series of experiments that would become foundational to all of modern psychology. Dogs were placed in situations where they received shocks they could not escape, no matter what they did. Later, when escape was actually possible, most of those dogs did not even try. They simply lay down and accepted what was happening. Seligman called it learned helplessness. The devastating idea that organisms learn to stop acting when experience teaches them that their actions do not change outcomes. But in a major revision of that theory in 2016, Seligman himself admitted he had framed it completely backwards. Passivity is not something animals learn. Passivity is the brain's default response when it is under prolonged, inescapable stress. What has to be actively built day after day is the deep belief that your behavior can actually change the situation. A dog that stops barking after an hour alone has not accepted the situation. It has stopped believing that its barking, its scratching, its howling matters at all. And there is an even darker, more recent layer to this story. A 2019 study found that in severely anxious dogs, long-term cortisol levels measured from hair samples, reflecting months of hormonal accumulation, were sometimes lower than in calmer dogs. Not because they were less stressed, but because their stress system had been running at full throttle for so long, it had started to burn out. And here is what should truly alarm every owner. In the same year, a team at Linköping University in Sweden measured long-term cortisol in 58 dog owner pairs. The levels were synchronized. Stressed owner, stressed dog. Calm owner, calm dog. When the researchers looked at the direction of that relationship, the answer was unmistakable. The owner's cortisol was predicting the dog's, not the other way around. That means a dog already carrying a chronically elevated stress baseline does not start the 8 hours you are gone from a place of calm. They start it from a place of deficit. Those hours are not happening in isolation. They are stacking on top of everything that has already built up inside them. The separation anxiety industry is enormous. Pheromone diffusers, calming supplements, anxiety wraps, white noise machines, special calming beds, you name it. Most owners have tried at least one of them. Most owners will quietly admit the results were somewhere between modest and completely nothing. And that is not because the products are scams. It is because almost all of them are treating the wrong 8 hours of the day. They are trying to fix the time you're gone instead of healing the 16 hours that come before and after. Let us look at the actual evidence. Dog-appeasing pheromone diffusers, sold under the brand name Adaptil, have been tested in the most rigorous placebo-controlled studies. And they showed no significant improvement in barking, scratching, whining, or heart rate. Leaving the television on for company produced no measurable difference compared to total silence. Puzzle toys and food dispensing gadgets can keep a dog busy for a few minutes, but for truly anxious dogs, they often backfire. The moment the food runs out, the dog suddenly remembers you are gone, and the real panic begins all over again. So what actually works? The approach with the strongest consistent evidence across decades of research is graduated exposure done correctly, not the version where you leave for 5 minutes and hope for the best. The real version starts with seconds. You walk to the door, touch the handle, and come straight back inside. You stand outside for 10 seconds and return. You take one step down the hallway and come back. Each tiny repetition is so small, the dog's nervous system never gets the chance to spike. It feels absurdly slow. It feels like you are doing nothing. But what you are actually doing is giving your dog hundreds of tiny proofs that every time the door closes, you come back. Once a dog can comfortably handle roughly 40 minutes alone without distress, the jump to 4 hours, or even 8 hours, often happens surprisingly fast. The 40-minute mark is not magic. It is simply the point where the dog has collected enough evidence to rewrite their prediction. For more severe cases, a 229-dog clinical trial showed that combining the medication fluoxetine with proper behavior modification produced 73% improvement compared to only 51% for behavior modification alone. The medication does not sedate the dog. It gently shifts something deeper. It changes what researchers call cognitive bias, the tendency to interpret ambiguous situations as threatening. It gives the dog's brain the calm space it needs to form new, safer beliefs. So here is what the hidden cameras have been showing us for more than 30 years now. Some dogs simply wait. Some dogs cycle through waves of distress every 20 to 28 minutes for the entire time you're gone. Some go completely quiet in a way that looks peaceful from the outside and yet is anything but peaceful inside. And almost none of them ever connect what they are feeling to anything you did wrong or anything you can fix with a new toy or a pheromone plug. What they are really responding to is the absence of one specific nervous system yours, the one their own nervous system has been quietly calibrated against day after day, month after month, until your cortisol levels and theirs have learned to move in the same direction. The dogs who struggle the most are not badly trained. They are not spoiled. They are not broken. They simply have not yet learned deep inside their nervous system, not just their brain, that the sound of the door opening and the sound of the door closing are actually the same event, just in different order. That is the quiet miracle we are trying to build. Every single time you come back calmly, every single time you return without drama, every single tiny proof you give that leaving always ends with coming home. You are not just training a behavior. You are rewriting an ancient survival prediction. You are teaching your dog that the world is still safe, even when you are not standing right there. And the most beautiful part is this. The same nervous system that can spiral into panic can also learn to rest and trust. It just needs enough repetitions of the same safe ending. Your dog is not waiting for a perfect owner. They are waiting for one simple, consistent truth. That every time you leave, you will come back. And when that truth finally sinks in, all the way down to their nervous system, the cycling stops. The silence becomes real calm. And the moment you walk through the door, changes from fear into the happiest reunion of their entire day. That is what the science has been trying to tell us all along. Your dog is not just missing you. They are trusting you with their entire emotional world while you are gone. And now you finally know exactly what they need from you when you are not home. So the next time you close that front door and walk away, remember what is truly happening on the other side. Your dog is not simply missing you. They are cycling through waves of hope and fear every 20 to 28 minutes, learning with every heartbeat whether the world is still safe when you are gone. Some dogs panic out loud. Some go quiet in a way that looks peaceful from the outside and yet is anything but. But now you know the truth. The hidden cameras have shown us for 30 years. If this changed how you see what is happening while you are at work, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Leave a comment below and tell me, does your dog show any signs before you have even picked up your keys? A heartfelt thank you to every single one of you who has supported us on this journey. Thank you for the incredible response to our very first video.